I don't know if you guys saw it on the subreddit, but there was a pretty funny thread that came out that I think would be fun to discuss together, because you guys may have some different ideas too. Obviously, the biggest one that comes to everybody's mind is the World Championship. A little bit of an own goal in the most boring game of RLCS history. We had Veloce, kings of defense, going up against Renegades, kings of throwing away possession. I don't know. It was the worst game ever. It sucked. And it ended with an own goal. 8-minute overtime or something like that, and it ended with an own goal. That's the biggest one people, I think, remember, because it was brutal. But there's a whole bunch more, and the subreddit decided to list a bunch of them. So let's take a peek. Veloce versus Renegades is not a choke. That was just them putting us all out of our misery. True. If anything, I think we should celebrate Siki as a hero. I think Siki's a hero. Watching that series, I was like, please make it stop. And then he's like, I got you. Own goal. And I'm like, my hero. Let's go. Yeah, I felt really bad for Siki that one. That's just not a fun situation to be in. And it's a tough situation too. He's making a split-second decision. He's trying to... Either way. Big problem. But there is a thread on the subreddit that says, what was the biggest choke in RL esports history? I know some of the biggest upsets, but I was curious which teams were poised for success and lost series and they were winning. Ermies in chat did bring up one that I actually casted. It was Jamal Jabari versus Cloud9. And Jamal Jabari was up by 5. Jamal Jabari, it was 5-0. Cloud9 tied it up and won an OT. They were down 0-5, tied it up and won. I don't know how you let 6 goals unanswered happen. Absolutely brutal. Also, keep in mind, chat, we're trying to talk about an individual game rather than like an all-encompassing thing. Like, what's a game that you're like, yeah, we're up, we got this, it's over, we're done, and then they threw it away? Danvian also brings up a really good one that I enjoy, which is Flipside Tactics versus Selfless. I casted that as well. There was a moment where Selfless was going to win that game, and then the ball hit the ground at 0 seconds, but on LAN, obviously it is perfect. So there was a little bit more give than when you're playing online, and it allowed Cookster to shoot and tie it up. I think specifically, oh, they tied up. Like, me and Leaf lost our minds. Also, my audio in that LAN was terrible. I basically was screaming the whole time because I couldn't hear anything. I hated it. I will not go back and watch that season. If you guys want to talk about the biggest choke, me seasons 1 through 3 off the RLCS. Let's be real. Yeah, we try not to go back and watch those. Season 4, I think I started doing okay with casting, but 1 through 3, I will not go back and watch. Scooter has a really good one from chat as well. Orbit versus Mocket, not killing the ball. Not killing the ball. They managed to, after being up so strong, Mocket ends up bringing it back down the other side of the field. They tie it up and they close it out. And that's the difference. Orbit came in as like the only team, because that was Garrett's original team, the only team to really be able to compete against the top dogs in NA. They were playing upset. It was incredible. Casters were so bad in early seasons. I wouldn't even say that they were bad. They were just inexperienced. As someone who is part of those conversations, it's not that we were terrible. It's just we'd never done it before. We were still learning and progressing. And I mean, you look at the casters now, those same casters are the same ones to this day. Obviously, they've got some new ones sprinkled in, but for the most part, the OG guys are still there. Minus me. Sad. Not really a single game, but Mouse losing 4 consecutive series were winning. Any of them would have secured them a world spot. Oh, I forgot about that. Yeah, Mouse Sports. All they needed to do was win a game. They had 4 lives. They had 4 lives to qualify and go to Worlds, and they lost them back to back to back to back. I totally forgot about that. Galaxy Racer, I wouldn't consider the biggest choke. Galaxy Racer was in a really good position to finish out top 6 last year, but they didn't. It's just tough to stay consistent like that against a competitive region. Giants as well. Giants started as a top 3 team, super competitive, then they plateaued. I think that's a more so internal thing. That same thing is still persistent to this day. For people that are wondering what's going on with some of those rosters, you look at what was Team Queso, now Giants. Some of the issues that those teams are having, the former Giants team before they disbanded and stuff, there is signs. You look at their performances when things just aren't going consistent. Probably some internal stuff possibly going on. Misfits in a good position, top 5, not able to qualify. Pretty tough. The Renegades won that OT that we're talking about. Season 8 Worlds, there's an own goal. Veloce versus Renegades. Group A of Season 8 Worlds, losers finals, game 4. And it was the most boring series ever. And then Renegades own goals and ends it. So shout outs to Siki. Thank you for that, man. Appreciate it. Good old reciprocity back in the day, too. Garrett completely beating an open net versus Method with less than 30 seconds left in game 4 while being down in the game and the series. Ended up losing the series and then losing to the Chiefs in losers. Yeah, for those that don't know, a lot of people thought that was going to be Energy's time. Energy at this point had not fully gotten to the point where they were the favorites every single time and then losing at LAN. But the first time that a lot of people had a lot of hope towards NRG. After season 3, they came into season 4 and people were like, man, this is it. Season 4, NRG's got a good bracket. They're the high seed. They're looking incredible. Things are all aligning. And then they botch out and take 9-10. Because why not? They lose to Chiefs. And then ironically enough, they lose to Chiefs like 2 seasons after that too or some. But yeah, it's pretty tough. And a lot of it, again, you talk about the what ifs. And this is one of them. Garrett G versus Method. Method, one of the most dominant teams there. They took 2nd place, losing to Gale Force twice. They, like, Energy could have been the difference and been in that winner's final instead. But because of, you know, a missed open net, and obviously that's just super spearheaded on one thing, but it's not the grand scheme of, like, all the things that got him to that point. You'd have to do some deep dive analysis on it, but ultimately, if you got an open net shot, you know, maybe it's not as open as this person's making it out to be, but putting the shot away, 30 seconds left, throwing it. Oh, man. 2-goal swings. It hurts. It really hurts. People talk about this one. Most iconic goal in all time. The thing people remember is the fact that Justin hit that shot. People forget that Energy didn't... Like, most casual fans don't know that Dignitas actually won that. Season 5 Grand Finals in London, one of the greatest moments in Rocket League history, if not the greatest moment in Rocket League history. Bracket reset, goes to Game 7. Energy versus Dignitas. Back and forth affair, like best of 7. Garrett gets bumped off of a play, resets off the ceiling, hits top left. Violent Panda hits a double touch. Like, it went back and forth. And then it goes into Game 7 OT. Garrett and Justin and Fireburner keep the ball alive. And Justin places it. We go into overtime. We get the This Is Rocket League. Shogun has the most iconic call, in my opinion, which is not that This Is Rocket League, but the one after. My voice is gone, but my spirit is high. We have overtime. Phenomenal call. And then Turbo has a beautiful catch on the side wall and a recovery, and then plays it far post. And on the rotation back towards net, 2 players bump into each other. Big sad. Big sad. And I will say this, part of me is glad that Energy lost. Although the storyline was too perfect for Energy to win that, my problem has, if Energy does win that, what else can live up to it? Can anything live up to that moment? Can anything ever live up to the moment that would have been if NRG clutches that OT and then wins the World Championship? I don't think so. I think Rocket League Esports would have peaked at that, and there never would have been another time. And then immediately the next season, we get Dignitas goes literally perfect. You want to talk about a choke, chat? You want to talk about a choke? Real talk. Dignitas in Season 6 won every single game. Every single one. All of their regional play through their league play. They won every single game in the World Championship except for the 2 losses to Cloud9 in the Grand Final. They won everything else that season. Did not drop a single game. Or series, I should say. You want to talk about choke? Imagine having a perfect season only to lose in the Grand Final. I do agree, Cloud9 really took it to Dignitas, and there were some internal issues going on with Dignitas. But if you're talking in the grand scheme of things, without like being like, yo, Cloud9 really good. Cloud9 was incredible. Torment played out of his mind. But like, they had a god tier season. Better than BDS even. No, even better than BDS. Because BDS lost. Yes, they won majors and stuff, and what BDS did over a longer period of time is incredible. But like, imagine not losing a single series for an entire season. Obviously a lot less matches, but like, they won it's like the Packers, like the Green Bay Packers when we played in 2011, 2012. We went 15-1 only to lose in the playoffs first round of the Giants. This is the grand finals. Pretty crazy. Pretty crazy stuff. Tainted Minds blowing a 3-0 lead against Team Envy. Even more so, Tainted Minds being up 2-1 on Evil Geniuses and still losing that one. Tainted Minds had 2 chances in that land. This is CJ's debut. The best walkout in RLCS history. Little RC Carboy. Loved it. But Tainted Minds blew it twice. Not just once. They were up 2-1 on Evil Geniuses when it was Chrome, Corrupted G, and Classics. They were up 2-1 in that and lost that. And then they played a Team Envy that I think actually took 3rd, 4th. Team Envy actually didn't do bad in that land. I'm surprised nobody mentioned this, but does anyone remember Iris? Yes, if you guys don't know, the original Iris roster. This is back when a lot of the PlayStation 4 kids were coming over to PC. We also had the Selfless roster the season before, and otherwise a lot of teams in like season 3, season 4, when the game really elevated in the pace of the game, because basically people took off their training weights out of the hyperbolic time chamber that is Xbox 40 FPS, 30 FPS. and PS4 60 FPS, and came over to PC. So we saw players and names like Dapper, J-Naps, and The Sort come over and start clapping kids. And Squishy Lachinio, Season 1 World Champ, and Torment ended up coming together, and they were the most dominant team in the offseason. Heavily dominant. Won everything. They're basically like evil geniuses of this offseason, of the Season 10 to Season 11 offseason, where they just won everything. They were the #1 seed coming into open qualifiers, because back then, no team got an automatic bid. You had to go through open qualifiers, and they were the #1 seed because of the offseason. And they botched it super early and then lost in the lowers, and they never made it. They then switched to Gimmick, and then that became Cloud9 after they won DreamHack 2017 in Atlanta, which I was at. Pretty crazy stuff. DreamHack 2017 in Atlanta that they ended up winning. And then they got signed by Cloud9. Pretty crazy stuff. But yeah, Iris not qualifying. Blessing in disguise. No offense to Luchinio, but Gimmick fit them better, and it worked out. Deadland was a ton of fun. Two instantly come to mind. I guess they weren't necessarily chokes because they weren't winning the series, but rather just this is where a lot of pressure and they lost. The Sicky one, yep. Sathya DreamHack Dallas. Yes, this one kind of is rough because Sathu never really got a real chance after that. He kind of got pushed down to lesser teams and then had to sub. But Sathya DreamHack Dallas. Space Station versus TSM, 6 seconds left at 0-0. Sathya goes to make the easy clear, but he accidentally does a weird move that recenters the ball for Remco. TSM take the 1-goal lead and win the series. It may not seem like a lot, but it is a pivotal moment in someone's career, technically, if you want to like micromanage it. Pretty wild stuff. Also, I see this more in OCE than anywhere else. I talked in a video a long time ago about how like OCE players associate plays to people rather than what it is. Rather than saying a double tap, they called it a Devo because Devo was the first one to make it really popular. They also do this where they say like chucking a sickie, you know, oceanic expression for faking it for a sick day. But they say pulling a sickie like when you botch a goal and stuff. Like it's brutal sometimes. But like there'll be times where they'll be like, I'm Devoing. It's been a long time since that. But like in the OG days of OCE, as someone who got to sit and talk with those boys, they refer to plays. They even still like when I used to sit in like Renegades comms and stuff, they would still like make references to that stuff, which is funny. It's just the way they associate it. Painful for me. TSM versus Mouse in Season 7, if I recall correctly. I was up 2 on the series, winning 3rd game. They only have to drop the ball to the ground. TSM equalizes with 0 seconds remaining. They proceed to win the game in OT. And then the next 2 games for a reverse sweep. Ouch, dude. Along with that reverse sweep, pretty sure AS Monaco had a 2-0 lead in that series, then lost 3 straight overtimes and ended up a 0's goal to ensure they stayed winless on the season. Oh, pain. Oh, pain, AS Monaco. AS Monaco trying to do whatever they can to not join Ty Lacto for the worst record in Rocket League history in the RLCS with Team Secret. But we only remind Ty Lacto that when we see him in public in Ukraine. Love Ty Lacto. Good kid. A very tall, good kid. Love Ty Lacto. Any V1 series? Yeah. You want to talk about choking? Watch V1, dude. As someone who has that first-hand experience, this one hits home. V1, please close out your matches, please. My heart feels for things. I have talked with some of the guys though recently on V1, and they are working very hard on making sure that doesn't happen. I mean making things close. I mean actually closing out series. I'm excited for upcoming V1. Either way, yes, V1 every time. You guys had in Season 10, I think like 62% of your matches went to Game 5 or 7. It sucked. When more than half your games go to Game 5, big pain, dude. Big pain. Shogun put out a tweet asking for the biggest bottle jobs. So that might... Oh, okay. Let's switch threads. Hanagumi losing a 5-0 lead to Realizing the boys in the APL kickoff. Ouch. Barca versus Guild choke to get in the first or second regional of the season. Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't consider it like the biggest choke, but what he's talking about is FC Barcelona was playing Guild. It was Game 5. Barcelona was up by 2. Guild tied it up within like 18 seconds. And then Guild won in overtime. I'm pretty sure. Supersonic Avengers missing out by 5 points is pretty rough. The Ronicky kickoff. Yeah, I remember that. The Ronicky kickoff with the, I think he was with, what? It was Barcelona at the time. And he went to go for a kickoff and his controller disconnected or whatever. And it was just an open net. So they lost that. Yep, I remember that one. OG Nordavind roster. Someone managed to throw away the finals of the Skitty series against Vert, Calix, and Breezy despite up 2-0 with 10 seconds remaining in Game 4. Yeah, ironically enough, similar to the Barcelona Guild situation. G2 and Cloud9 Season 8 is up there. I don't know if you... Like, that's talking like the entire series, and they were going through some major changes. Like, G2 was trying to redefine their play style. Cloud9 was on a decline and had been for a while. They'd been trying to change their roster since, like, Season Like, they wanted to change their roster pretty early after, but then they won a world championship and stuff. F3 with Mike Rules not winning worlds despite winning everything before the event. Yeah, there's some behind the scenes stuff as to why I think that happened with like lack of scrims and practice and stuff. Season 1 was pretty botched, just because it was so new for everybody. But like the players didn't get to practice. Like most teams in Season 1 LAN got maybe like 2 or 3 hours of practice time. It was not a lot. And like back then the players weren't confident enough to like go drive to a LAN cafe or something so they could get practice in. Yeah, it was rough, dude. It was really rough. There was only 6 PCs, maybe like 6 PCs and the PCs on stage, and that was it. So like at most 12 people could practice out of all the teams there. It was pretty rough. Both come from G2. Generally looked like a top 2 team in Season 7. Granted, they were given the blessing of not having to beat Energy in any stage. However, they did beat Vitality the first time, only to get a completely bomb out of them in the grand finals. The World Champions should have gone to them, but I don't know what happened. Well, you see, they played a team called Vitality that was really good. Happened to go through the gauntlet that is North America and won and beat everybody. Nothing was going to beat that Vitality team. I do agree that if they didn't lose that overtime and didn't concede that 0-second goal, maybe things would have been different. But to say the World Champions should have gone to them, you're a G2 fan. No. You earn a World Championship. No one should have won anything. You're playing a grueling grand final. Both teams looked incredible. Arguably, Vitality looked better, in my opinion. And my predictions reflected that. The only prediction I got wrong was Energy losing to Vitality that day. And then as soon as I saw Vitality beat them, I'm like, no one's going to stop this team. And I saw Vitality smack Cloud9. I'm like, uh-oh. And then they played G2, and I'm like, yeah, Vitality's got it. And I was perfect on that day other than that. Take that, Uzi Gambino. What a name. DreamHack Montreal. No doubt that one. No one expected the Peeps to perform so well. I agree. I think G2 definitely. It was more of G2 losing than it was Peeps winning. G2's defense was horrible. I've actually, if you guys who are watching on YouTube want to know, if you guys go check out, I did replay analysis on that series and go over some of the things. And a lot of it is G2 trying to commit a little bit too heavily on offense. And they get counterattacked. Just wide open nets. Basically, I watched in South America now. But yeah, they still played well. Game 1 of G2 versus Vitality. The bump, we talked about that. Can't remember, but I think United blew a 3-goal lead against Space Station on 20 seconds left in some smaller tournament. The Mouse one, honorable mention. V1 were up 2-0 against Rogue in Game 3 of the last NA Regional. Rogue ends up scoring a 1 second and somehow managed to also score on 0 seconds. In other words, V1 blew a 2-0 lead with 1 second left. Oh, why do you got to remind me? They did manage to win the OT, though. It's not exactly a choke. Yeah, it's definitely not a choke then. Almost pain, but not full pain. Why would he bring that up? That hurts, man. I don't want to know that. 4-goal comeback. It was a 5-goal comeback. Yep. Yeah, Dr. Swag. What's up, man? He knows. G2's lost in Season 3 against Denial for a world spot. Yeah. I don't know what the exact situation was, but them losing that was a pretty big surprise. Well, no, it really wasn't, because we all saw what was going on with G2. For those that don't know, Over Zero was a sub. It did not go well at all. Kenovi hard carried as much as he could. And then while they were trying to figure out what they wanted to do, they then had major changes and brought in Rizzo and JNaps. That was in February 2017. Long time ago. Tiebreaker between Complexity and Space Station. I wouldn't console that. I wouldn't consider any of that like a throw or anything like that. Realistically, both teams played pretty solid. There was a couple moments from both sides. We did replay analysis on that one, but I wouldn't consider that a choke by any means. Barca being up 3-0 versus Dig in Season 8 Regional, losing when they were out of the world contention. 3-0 in a best 7. Yeah, it's pretty crazy. G4. What was the other one? There was that one between, what was it? Vitality and TSM, I think it was. Vitality and TSM, where it came down to winning. It was the difference between like being 7th and 4th or something like that. I forget what the swing was, but like 1 goal separated Vitality. If they lose that, they're knocked out. But because they won, they ended up like top 3 or top 4 or something like that and going to Worlds. I forget what it was. It came down to 1 goal though. I forget what season was that. And then they won a world championship. I think that was Season 7. I forget what season that was. It was Season 8 because they went 4-3. Yeah. So TSM and Vitality played each other. It went to 5. It was the last week. It was the very last week of league play. And it was Vitality was up 2-0. They had shut out TSM to this point. TSM had an abysmal season. They went 3-4, like -5 game differential. It was terrible. It was basically Alpha trying to solo carry. But they're up 2-0 in the series. They had shut out TSM to this point. TSM then wins 2-1 in Game 3, 6-3 in Game 4. They then go to OT, and at a minute 7 seconds, Fairy Peak hits a open net near post from the right side wall, if I remember correctly, and they win it in OT, minute 07. And that's the difference between them getting knocked out and taking 7th and going to promotion playoffs. So they could have gotten relegated. Or by winning, it puts them and ends up having them go to the World Championship as the 3rd seed. They get into the playoffs and have to clutch through the playoffs, which they do. They win the whole... You know, they beat Mouse Sports 4-0. They then beat Veloce 4-3, and then they lose to Reciprocity in the grand finals. But, like, yeah. You're talking the difference between promotion relegation and going to Worlds potentially as a top 4 seed. You got to win one match in the Page playoff system. That was season 8. That's just so wild, man. I forgot about that one. That's crazy. That's crazy. Underrated ones that are forgotten nowadays. PSG season 4. They're really close to complete the first unbeaten season in league play. Originally frontline. Yep. Weren't even a top seed in the section. Qualified on uppers. Got to RLCS and just dominated. Already beaten Galeforce and Mocket. Went 5-0 before week 4. Blue is rookie of the year, etc. They won game 1 easily. We're up by 3-0. Lost 5-4 on some weird team bumps and whiffs. Then lost games 3 and 4 by repeatedly shooting themselves in the foot. And they were short of making more history. In fact, you can easily say that roster was the best undisputed team in Europe at the time. Never got a point again and only popped off again after replacing Bluey. Yeah, that's frustrating, man. That is frustrating. Yeah, that was the Young Guns. And back in the days when people thought Farrah was a girl. Shoutouts to Cloud Fuel, who sent us that information over comms. And we're like, Gibbs is like, yeah, he's a girl. And then we're like, that's not right. Yeah, it's one of the biggest blunders in RLCS history. Calling Farrah a girl, and everybody thinking Farrah was a girl. Turns out Victor is his first name, and Farrah is one of my favorite people in the French community. Love Farrah. Don't know what he's up to now. Wish I did. We already knew G2 kind of bottled it because they won Worlds because Kronovi hard carried, and then they realized how poor Over0 actually was. Chat, what do you guys have? Is there any that I'm thinking and forgetting about? Is there any that you guys can think of? PSG getting reverse swept by Chiefs in season 6, with Chiefs winning 3 state OTs to take the series. That is pretty big bar side. I agree with that. I do agree with that. Energy and Envy in Winter RLCS X. Game 4, Energy is up 3-0, and then Envy manages to tie it up 3-3. Squishy scores to go up 4-3 with 10 seconds left. Envy then does a fake kickoff and scores 6 seconds. Envy proceeds to win in OT. I don't know if you consider that a choke. I think that's more credit to Envy going for a risky play and it working out. Because I remember watching that. It was a fake kickoff. It went to the left side. They play it back infield, and then they shoot it, and it was a goal. It was incredible to see because they came back and won it. I remember that. It was incredible. I think the biggest thing is them being up by 3-0. So I agree with that, Cavs. As an individual game, I think it's more so the biggest thing that I think adds qualifiers for these is the context to it. Like the tournaments that are surrounding it, you know? This isn't really one, but Renegade's figuring out a way to not get number 1 seed OC this split. All that matters, Reflect. All that matters is CJ's going to be at LAN again for the first time in 3 years. Okay? It's been so long since CJ has gone to a LAN, not just because of COVID, but also just from not qualifying. It finally happened, and all it took was fever. All right? It's happening. We're so happy. I mean, you could talk about that. CJ not qualifying for LAN, despite them being a favorite through the season. But when the pressure was on, just wasn't able to clutch it up. Yeah, I'm curious on what they're going to do for walkouts. I am very curious on what they're going to do for walkouts. Hopefully they bring something fun. All right, chat. I think that's going to wrap it for that conversation. So, for everybody who's watching on Twitch, if y'all want to say what's up, say hi to the YouTubers. Say what's up to the YouTube frogs. As for the YouTube frogs, let me know what you guys think. Is there any big chokes that we're thinking about that we missed? If there's any specific scenarios that you guys can remember or think about, let me know in the comments. Let me know what you guys think about big moments in Rocket League history, specifically the RLCS. I think the RLCS is kind of the easiest way to do it, but if there's things in the RLCS that you guys think were big blunders, big choke moments, big moments where you're like, man, I can't believe that happened, and it was due to a team making a mistake or something like that, let me know in the comments down below. But with that said, if you guys enjoy the content, as always, give it a thumbs up, hit subscribe, turn on notifications, and come join us on Twitch. We stream every day but Tuesday and Sunday. Twitch.tv/Lawler. Got all the people here saying hi to you, to all the YouTube frogs. But we appreciate it. Have a good one.